Last week took about 13 minutes. One prompt, one working chart, 13 minutes. And most of that time I wasn't writing code or fixing logic. I was just getting the environment set up to run the thing. I told you at the end of that episode, the next version would look different. Today you're going to see exactly how different, and I'm going to tell you about something that happened during this demo that I completely missed while it was happening. Before we get into it, I need to walk something back from last week. I ended episode 3 by saying that newer AI coding tools live inside your development environment. That's certainly the way that they can be used, but the tool I'm going to show you today, Codex from OpenAI, can also be used as a standalone app. You download it, you install it on your computer, and it runs on its own. No VS Code, no code editor. You describe what you want, and it goes to work directly on your files. Now, because Codex is running on your computer and writing to it, there are permission settings. The default settings, which I like to use, is it lets Codex read and edit files inside the workspace, meaning the project folder you pointed at. If it needs to do anything beyond that folder, it asks first. There's also a full access mode where it can reach anywhere on your machine without asking. I'd leave that one off. The default setting is the right starting point for me. As you get more comfortable with it, maybe you decide to give it more permissions and allow it to do more things directly. I'm on the $20 a month ChatGPT paid plan, same one I walked through in episode 2. But as of this filming, Codex is available on the free plan as well. Now it has some limits on how much you can use it, but it's there. So if you haven't upgraded, it's still worth trying. One more thing before we start. If you're a Claude user rather than a ChatGPT user, Anthropic has a similar tool called Claude Code. I haven't done a side-by-side comparison yet. That's coming. But it does require a paid plan to use, starting at the same $20 a month as ChatGPT Plus, and right now I'm just on the free plan. All right, same prompt as last week. New project folder, clean slate. Let's see what Codex does with it. Okay, before we dive in, I want to make sure we're not giving Codex any kind of head start here. So remember in the last episode, we did this with VS Code. So I did the old method where we copied and pasted from a ChatGPT cloud, just the ChatGPT prompt sessions, right? I prompted, I copied the code, I pasted it and put it into VS Code. Now the actual code was correct last time, but it had to install the libraries. So what I want to do this time is make sure that those libraries don't give Codex a head start now that we're going to try to do this the different way. So I've already made sure that that wasn't the case. Last time what we did was we created a virtual environment. ChatGPT told us to create the virtual environment. Remember, I don't remember how to do any of this or know how to do any of this. So ChatGPT created a virtual environment in VS Code, and then I ran it that way. When it installed the libraries, it installed them locally. So what I've done here is I've created a brand new folder, and I called it breakeven Codex. And so that new folder doesn't have that MATLAB or Matplotlib installed on it already. So this basically gives us the same starting point as we did last week. Just we're going to do this with Codex instead. And we want to see, again, how does it differ? How is it the same? How is it different? Okay. So again, we're in Codex here. And so now let's go ahead and we're going to run the exact same prompt that we did last time in the last episode, just so that way we get a good comparison. So I want to build a Python script that calculates the Social Security break-even point between two different claiming ages. The user enters two ages they're considering claiming, for example, 62 and 67, along with the estimated monthly benefit for each age. The script calculates cumulative lifetime benefits for each option by year, starting from the earlier claiming age, and then plots both lines on a chart. The chart should show the crossover point where the later claiming age catches up and passes the earlier one. Keep it simple, just a script I can run from the terminal. So again, let's see what happens now. So this again is the exact same prompt we used before. Remember, we got code spit out from ChatGPT that then I pasted in VS Code. Let's see what happens when we do this in Codex. So it's saying, again, it'll show you these what's going on. It's, I'll take a quick look at the workspace shape. Then I'll add a small terminal-friendly script in the style that fits what's already there. Folder's empty, so it's got a brand new open empty folder. So I'm going to create a self-contained Python script with a couple of command line prompts and a saved chart. It'll use matplotlib, same thing that we had to do last week, since that keeps the code simple and gives a useful visual right away. So now it's just going through it and it's going, okay, I'm making the chart show both the whole year cumulative totals and the exact month age where they later benefit break even when that exists. So it's going through here and continuing. Still doing all of this on its own. So we are not doing anything for this. It's kind of great. It gives you the feedback as it's running. So all of this is in real time as it's going through the process. It's doing all of this on its own in the background. Again, ChatGPT almost instantly gave us the script. This isn't kind of just doing a script. It's trying to do the entire thing. It's trying to make sure that it installs all the libraries, make sure that it can run on its own. And it does, and it goes through and it uses all those commands and does everything all by itself. It's not relying on us to copy and paste it into VS Code, us to then try to run it in VS Code, getting an error, finding out what that error is, going back to ChatGPT and pasting it. Instead, what's great about Codex is all we did was give it that simple prompt, and from here, it's just simply trying everything on its own. So it's going to go through and it's running everything that it can do to try to get a working script for us. Now it's saying I'm doing a final run to confirm it prints the break-even results and writes the chart. It's great. It must be even using its own input values for the 62 and 67. It's the one thing that we'll see how it does it. So it's saying, hey, I did it. I added a standalone script here. So it added the script, created the script. Our pass values directly, okay? So it can sit there and tell us, hey, do you want to just pass the values or do you want to run it? It prints the break-even age and saves the SVG chart, defaulting to Social Security. I kept it dependency free. So it uses only the Python standard library verified with 62 and 67 examples. It calculated break-even at 78.25 for $1,800 a month versus $2,600 a month. Now you can see that number is not the same that we did last week. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually give it a new chat here. Okay, so we're going to say I want you to use at age 62 a monthly benefit of $2,500 and at 67 a monthly benefit of $3,571.43. Go ahead and run the script and show me the graph output. So now what we did was, again, we just gave it a simple prompt, said, hey, why don't you go ahead and run it for me? Gave it the input for the 62 and the 67, and then it spit out the answer. Now let's take a look and see. Okay, so you can see it came up with a break-even age of 78.67. Looks very similar to what we have done in our last episode. This time though, if you notice, in the last episode, we had to tell it, hey, can you give us this in dollars? Because that makes it's just a lot more visually appealing chart as opposed to doing the cumulative and decimal points like it had done before. So this gave it to us in the nice dollars right off the start. And calculated that break-even point. So you can see what a great tool and how much easier this is with Codex. There was no VS Code, there was no copying, pasting, there was no struggling with figuring out how to get the libraries done. This just went off and did the whole thing itself, figured out how to run it, and then said, great, let's go ahead and give you the output that you want. Okay, honest take on what you just watched. The obvious part first. No copy and paste, no window switching, no error messages to manually carry back and forth. I typed one prompt and watched it work. That's exactly what I expected going in. But here's the part I didn't catch until after I went back and read the full log. And I want to be straight about this because I actually narrated it wrong while it was running. When Codex first started, it said it was going to use matplotlib, same library we had to install in episode 3. I read that out loud and said, same thing as last week. What I missed is that Codex then hit the exact same wall we hit in episode 3. Matplotlib wasn't installed. The difference is, it didn't stop. No error message. No waiting for me to copy something and go figure it out. It just quietly decided to solve the problem a different way. It switched to a charting approach built directly into Python that needs no installation at all. It rewrote the script, deleted a file it had already created, ran 5 more verification steps, and handed me a working result. All of that happened silently while I was talking during the episode, or during the demo. In episode 3, that same problem, matplotlib, not installed, was most of the 13 minutes. Here I didn't even know it was happening. Now about the permissions. You might have noticed Codex never once stopped to ask me to approve anything. That goes back to the default setting I mentioned before. Codex is allowed to read and write within its project folder. It doesn't even have to ask. Everything it did, creating the Python script, editing it, deleting the requirements file, running commands, all of it stayed inside that one folder. It never needed to reach outside, so it never needed to ask. Simple as that. One other detail worth pointing out. At the end of episode 3, I had to go back and ask ChatGPT to reformat the y-axis to show dollar amounts instead of those, raw numbers with decimal points. Codex gave me dollars right out of the gate without being asked. Small thing on its own, but it's the kind of small thing that tells you something about how much more context the tool is working with. So here's what I actually take away from this. What changed between last week and today isn't that the AI writes better code. ChatGPT wrote correct code on the very first try last week too. What changes everything around the code. The setup, the error handling, the missing library, all of it. The wall I spent most of episode 3 trying to get over. Codex just went around it and it didn't bother telling me. If you're someone who wants to automate something in your life, but you're not going to become a developer, that's the version of this that's actually useful to you. Go out and use Codex. You don't have to be a developer. You can just code. You can just tell it what to do, If you haven't subscribed yet, now's a good time. Next week, we're going to talk about prompting, but probably not the way you've heard it explained before. The old advice about carefully crafting the perfect prompt, mostly outdated. What actually matters now is simpler than that, and I'll show you exactly what it looks like. I'll see you then.